In this video, we are going to talk about the top 10 heaviest storms in the history of humans. So before starting, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for future updates. Let's start. Number 10. Typhoon AMY. Typhoon AMY was a powerful and devastating tropical storm that devastated portions of the central Philippines in December 1951. Impacting the archipelago during the 1951 eruption of Mount Haibok, AMY amplified the impacts of the volcano, considerably increasing the number of subsequent deaths. The 15th named storm and 14th typhoon inside the western Pacific Ocean that year, AMY originated from a region of low pressure near the Kwajalein Atoll on December 3. Tracking in a general westward track, the storm quickly developed to reach typhoon intensity the next day. However, the typhoon's asymmetricity resulted in a change of intensity over the following few days. Afterward, AMY increased to achieve its peak intensity with maximum sustained winds of 220 km per hour, 140 miles per hour, and a minimum barometric pressure of 915 bar, HPA, 28.05 nhg, on December 8. Over the subsequent 2 days, AMY traveled over various islands in the central Philippines before emerging in the South China Sea on December 11 as the equivalent of a minor typhoon. Shortly after, the tropical storm conducted a tight anticyclonic loop while swinging in strength many times until eventually weakening and dissipating on December 17, just east of Vietnam. Number 9. Typhoon Ida. Typhoon Ida, also known as the Kanagawa Typhoon, was the 6th deadliest typhoon to hit Japan, as well as one of the strongest tropical cyclones on record. On September 20, Ida formed in the western Pacific near Guam. It traveled to the west and rapidly intensified into a 115 miles per hour, 185 kilometers per hour typhoon by the next day. On September 22, Ida shifted to the north and continued its high rate of intensification. 2 days later, hurricane hunters recorded a barometric pressure of 877 mb, 25.9 nhg, with 325 km per hour winds, 200 miles per hour. Ida was the strongest tropical cyclone ever recorded until Typhoon June 17 years later. Ida weakened as storm headed north-northeast and made landfall in Japan. Number 8. Typhoon Rita. In 2005, the Bahamas had a tropical depression. Once it had gusts of exceeding 39 miles per hour, it was designated Rita and became the 17th named storm system of 2005. 2005 is already the 5th most active storm season since 1851. 21 tropical storms formed in 1933, 19 in 1995 and 1887, and 18 in 1969. Rita is the season's first R storm. Rita became a tropical storm on September 18 at 5 p.m. 5 hours earlier, at 11:40 a.m., NASA's Terra satellite obtained this image of Rita as an organizing tropical depression. The hurricane's spiral structure and eye are not yet fully formed, but these nascent elements are visible. Rita is expected to pass across the Florida Keys as a hurricane. The storm track forecasts as of September 19 had it traversing the Gulf of Mexico to make landfall in southern Texas, but forecasting hurricanes several days in advance is still an iffy science, and there are fears that Rita could turn in the Gulf and move into Katrina-affected areas. Number 7. Typhoon Irma. Irma is the strongest Atlantic Basin storm beyond the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea. From August 31 to September 11, it was a hurricane. The 650-mile-long storm struck at least 9 U.S. states, turning streets into rivers and cutting off coastal villages. Hurricane Irma damaged several Caribbean islands on September 6. The hurricane damaged 95% of Barbuda's buildings. The hurricane reached southwest Florida on September 10, causing tornadoes and flooding as it headed inland. Before it made 2 landfalls, 5.6 million people were evacuated. Irma was downgraded to a tropical storm Monday as it moved across Georgia. By Tuesday, Irma had devastated the southeast, flooding Jacksonville, Florida, and Charleston, South Carolina, and leaving millions without electricity. Number 6. Typhoon June. June is the first month of the Atlantic hurricane season, but it's not usually a busy month. The Atlantic Basin rarely sees tropical storms or hurricanes in June. Since modern weather records began, half of Junes had no named storms. Recent exceptions prove the norm. The last 2 Junes had no tropical development, but 2017 saw tropical storms Brett and Cindy. 2 tropical storms formed in June 2016 and 1 in June 2015. The 2020 AHB preseason has been busy. Arthur and Bertha have appeared this year. Tropical development in May, before June 1st, has become widespread. This is the 3rd consecutive May with a named storm. In June, tropical storms and hurricanes usually form in the Western Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, or far western Atlantic along the East Coast. Warming seas feed a growing storm. Number 5. Typhoon Tip. A monsoon trough from the Philippines to the Marshall Islands existed in early October 1979. Typhoon Tip, the largest and most intense tropical cyclone ever, developed. This typhoon began slowly. The same monsoon trough southwest of Guam created Tropical Storm Roger on October 3, 1979. This tropical storm stopped Typhoon Tip from forming to its southeast, near Pohnpei. On October 5, the erratically moving low-pressure disturbance became Tropical Depression 23. The tropical depression traveled slowly and sporadically over several days while growing into a tropical storm, Tropical Storm Tip. Tropical Storm Roger traveled to the north, becoming entrained in the westerlies, and went extratropical on October 8. Thereafter, Tropical Storm Tip drifted northwest toward Guam. Tip moved west early on October 9 and became a typhoon. Outflow from extratropical Roger and a tropical upper tropospheric trough were conducive for strengthening. Typhoon Tip intensified quickly. By October 11, Tip had 241 km/h winds, 150 miles per hour. The typhoon caused 600 mudslides and flooding across Japan's mountains. Rivers broke, destroying 27 bridges and 105 dikes. Over 22,000 homes flooded, leaving 11,000 homeless. Rainfall breached a flood retaining wall at Camp Fuji, a USMC training site near Gotemba, Japan. During flooding, a campfire killed 13 servicemen and injured 68. 8 ships sank or stranded, killing 44 fishermen. A Chinese freighter broke in half. Typhoon Tip killed 99. Total economic losses in Japan are uncertain, but the agriculture and fishing industries were damaged. Number 4. Typhoon Joan. The disturbance that sparked this cyclone formed off Africa's coast on October 5. The convective system began detaching from the ITCZ on the 9th. The system became the 17th tropical depression of the season on the 10th. Late that night, Joan formed. As it approached the Windward Islands, the cyclone weakened. The cyclone proceeded across Grenada and steadily developed as it grazed South America's coast. Cyclone hit Curacao, Venezuela's Paraguana Peninsula, and Colombia's Guajira Peninsula. Joan strengthened after leaving the Colombian Peninsula. The 20th cyclone looped 130 miles north of Panama City. Joan became a category for hurricane east of Bluefields, Nicaragua, after the loop. The cyclone moved across Nicaragua on the 22nd and early on the 23rd and exited in the eastern Pacific as a tropical storm. Number 3. The Vergas Tragedy. The rain-caused disaster on Venezuela's Vergas coast in 1999 shows how too much rain can cause a cascading effect of destruction. From December 14 to 16, a storm dumped a year's worth of rain on the Sierra de Avila mountains north of Caracas, creating major landslides and debris floods. Over 8,000 residences and 700 apartment structures were destroyed. It damaged roads, electrical lines, water and sewage infrastructure, and cost $1.79 billion. Approximately 30,000 people died, but only 1,000 remains were retrieved, debris flows and floods buried or carried away the rest. Some regions are topographically and physically more prone to severe weather damage than others. Number 2. Typhoon Violet. TC Violet was a huge system that lived in the Coral Sea. A tropical low about 13.5 degrees south 153.5 degrees east deepened and moved south-southwest on March 2. At 0600 UTC on March 3 near 16.0 degrees south 152.5 degrees east, the low was christened TC Violet. The cyclone headed south-southeast and accelerated, intensifying until 1200 UTC March 5 near 22.2 inches 158.I0E. Late on March 6, Violet weakened but remained a hurricane as it moved south-southwest, then west-southwest. The storm was transitioning into a deep extratropical low with 28 RN/S winds and 980 HPA pressure. The low continued to weaken and move west, approaching northern New South Wales at about 1200 UTC March 7. The system headed northeast and looped southeast before dispersing at approximately 0000 UTC on March 8 near 29.2 degrees south 155.1 degrees east. Only beach erosion on Lord Howe Island and in northern New South Wales was reported. The strongest wind gust recorded on Lord Howe Island before the power outage was 34 meters per second at 12:46 Universal Time Coordinated, March 6. Number 1. Typhoon Nancy. Tropical cyclones, TCs, gain intensity when they reach landfall due to high surface winds and heavy rain. Few studies have examined the strength shift of severe TCs that make landfall in medium latitudes like Japan. This study employed a numerical simulation of Typhoon Nancy, 1961, to understand the strength shift when Nancy hit Japan. Simulation track inaccuracies were reduced via spectral nudging. The simulated storm had an uneven shape and quick eyewall contraction during landfall. A tangential wind budget showed that maximum wind speed dropped as surface friction and advection increased with low-level asymmetric flows. The storm's heated core's temperature budget was investigated in detail. In the top 12 kilometers warm core, cooling from asymmetric fluxes and long-wave radiation overcame heating from condensation and short-wave radiation during eyewall cloud contraction. In the lower warm core, adiabatic cooling offsets warm air intrusions from asymmetric fluxes and condensational heating. Based on a moisture budget, the well-developed typhoon's condensation was caused by ocean evaporation. What do you think about our video? Let us know in the comment box below. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Thank you.